Topuria's a nightmare.
Yes, he is.
He's a nightmare.
Yeah.
He's scary. What he did to Josh Emmett, I was like,
nasty.
Oh, man.
He's nasty.
What he did to Bryce Mitchell, like, oh, man.
He's so good. He's so skilled, and he's got great boxing, got great takedown defense.
Everything, everywhere.
Topuria is that guy. He has that power to knock you out and do it in just absolutely devastating fashion.
Daniel Cormier was stunned by the latest training session of Ilia Topuria for his potential fight with Islam Makhachev for the lightweight title. Although the fight isn't confirmed, Topuria has repeatedly started his training camp for this epic encounter. Daniel Cormier said Ilia Topuria hits harder than anyone he's seen. He compared him to Conor McGregor at 145, but said Topuria is more skilled. Cormier mentioned people backstage saying Topuria hits like a young knockout artist, and he agreed. He added that Topuria has scary knockout power enough to stop someone like Max Holloway.
I don't know if we have ever seen a guy at 145 that punches like this dude. He hits like no one I've ever seen before. Conor McGregor had great power at 145, but Conor McGregor, I don't think, had the skills that Ilia Topuria has. I was talking to some of the people in the back, and they told me he's like Triple G, and I agree. Remember, Triple G used to just starch dudes early in his career. Topuria's like that. Topuria is that guy. He has that power to knock you out and do it in just absolutely devastating fashion, because I never thought that anybody would be able to knock out Max Holloway.
On the other hand, with a lot of confusion in the lightweight division, Daniel Cormier shared his idea for how the UFC should handle the lightweight division. He said the UFC should book Dustin Poirier versus Islam Makhachev for the title. Then they should set up Justin Gaethje versus Arman Tsarukyan, with the winner getting the next title shot. Cormier said this would reset the division and give everyone a clear path at 155 pounds. So while everyone seems excited for this fight, Islam Makhachev has shown interest to fight Ilia Topuria for a direct title fight. However, Ilia Topuria believes Islam Makhachev is avoiding a fight with him out of fear. Topuria was confident that he would easily defeat Islam, stating that the Dagestani fighter is afraid of losing his belt to him. He strongly believed that Islam's hesitation to face him is rooted in fear of the challenge Topuria presented.
Es primero que Makhachev no se abre del todo a pelear contigo, quizás porque tenga algún tipo de...
¿Tiene miedo? Claro que tiene miedo, por supuesto. Es como, siempre es una pelea fácil hasta que te ponen el nombre en el contrato, ¿no? Así que todos lo sabemos. Si fuera tan fácil y si fuera tan enano como él dice, ya compartiría el octógono conmigo, ¿no? Por algo no quiere. Yo lo entiendo, así que está bien. Súbete hacia arriba.
However, UFC legends Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen rejected the idea that Islam Makhachev is afraid to fight Ilia Topuria. Cormier praised Islam as the lightweight champion, one of the greatest of all time, and the top pound-for-pound fighter in the world. He addressed rumors suggesting Islam turned down a fight with Topuria, speculating that Islam might believe Ilia hasn't earned the shot yet. Sonnen dismissed these rumors as fake news, calling them an insult to both fighters. He highlighted Islam's history of accepting challenges, referencing his short-notice fight against Renato Moicano as proof of his willingness to fight anyone, anytime.
Islam Makhachev, the lightweight champion of the world, one of the greatest fighters of all time, and the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Rumors are coming out that he said no to a fight with Ilia Topuria. They feel he needs to do something first. What do you make of that when you first hear it? Like, he doesn't want to fight Topuria just yet, at least.
My first sense is that's fake news. And it's a real insult to Ilia, to Islam. I don't believe that Islam's scared to fight anybody. I think that evidence of that fact would be the fact that he switched opponents, took on Money Moicano with no training camp, no preparation, just because it's the right thing to do.
Daniel Cormier even questioned whether Islam Makhachev should fight Ilia Topuria next, suggesting that even if Islam wins, critics will try to downplay the victory. He pointed out that people might say Islam only beat featherweights like Volkanovski and Topuria, or other opponents like Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush, who either came came in on short notice or were lower ranked. Cormier emphasized that no matter how dominant a champion is, there will always be efforts to discredit them. In his opinion, Islam is the best fighter in the world, and that should be respected, regardless of the narratives people try to create.
Best fighter in the world.
Despite no official confirmation, this potential fight is making headlines across social media. The lightweight legend Dustin Poirier shared his thoughts on this Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev matchup. He said that if Topuria can stop Islam's takedowns, his striking and power could give him an advantage. Poirier also praised Islam's improved striking, especially how smart and hard to hit he is. Looking back at his own fight with Islam, Poirier pointed out that Islam used an unusual range. Still, he believes the size difference would be too much for Topuria to handle.
How do you think he would do against Islam?
I mean, if he can stop the takedowns, I think his boxing is better than Islam's. I think he's a bigger puncher. Yeah. Islam's technique is getting a lot better on the feet. He's kind of crafty and elusive. When I fought him, he fought at a weird range, but I think the size difference is just too much.
However, Belal Muhammad thinks Islam should not fight Topuria. The welterweight champion Belal Muhammad stated that fans don't give Islam Makhachev the respect he deserves. Even after Makhachev defeated Volkanovski, people criticized him for not finishing the fight or claimed Volk was too small. When Makhachev finished him in the rematch, the same criticisms were made. Now, with Ilia Topuria possibly moving up to challenge Makhachev, Belal believes that if Islam dominates him as well, critics will just say he's a 145er again.
The people never want to give Team Khabib their respect, right? They want to see them lose so bad. They just want to, shun them and, put hate on them no matter what it is. Where like when he beats Volkanovski, who was the pound for pound best fighter in the world at that time in a close fight, it was like, oh, he sucks, blah, blah, he didn't finish him. He should have finished him. He's a 45er. Then he goes out there, finishes him, and it's like, well, Volkanovski was a 45er. So now Topuria, I think he's a little bit smaller than Volkanovski, he's going to move up, and then if Islam dominates him, oh, well, he's a 45er. He could go back down. So there's really nothing to gain for Islam from fighting him.
Belal Muhammad explained that Islam Makhachev isn't avoiding Ilia Topuria. He simply believes Topuria hasn't earned a title shot yet. According to Belal, Islam is criticized no matter who he defeats, so he wants Topuria to prove himself first, possibly by beating someone like Charles Oliveira. Belal also pointed out that Topuria vacated his title without making multiple defenses and decided to move up, unlike Volkanovski, who earned his move by dominating his division.
So when he says, "Oh, let him fight somebody else, earn it," like he's not saying I won't fight him. He's saying, "Bro, let him earn it." Like we already had to deal with this already. People are already shutting my resume. They're hating on me no matter what. So let him go out there, beat like a Charles Oliveira. Why would it have to be for a title? You vacated your title. You wanted to move up on your own. You didn't want to cut the weight. And it's not like you beat 10. You defended the belt like 10 times at 45 or 5 times, right? When Volkanovski did it, he already beat everybody there, and he was earned his shot to move up.
Belal Muhammad mentioned that Ilia Topuria still had tough contenders to face at featherweight, such as Diego Lopez, Yair Rodriguez, and Movsar Evloev, so there was no need for him to rush moving up. He believes Topuria should fight at least once in the lightweight division to earn a title shot, especially since Islam Makhachev has been consistently defending his belt.
Topuria, he still had Diego Lopez at the time. He still had Yair down there, Evloev, who's undefeated, right? There's still a lot of guys for him at 45 to fight. He's just choosing to move up on his own. So that's why I think he should fight at least one more fight at 55 to earn a title shot. It shouldn't be no interim title shot. It shouldn't be nothing, because this time's defending every year.
Meanwhile, Luke Thomas questioned what would do more for Islam Makhachev's legacy, fighting Ilia Topuria next or waiting. He acknowledged that a win over Topuria would undoubtedly enhance Islam's legacy. However, he emphasized that Topuria is a legitimate threat and not an easy opponent. While Volkanovski was a tough challenge, Thomas pointed out that Topuria presents a different kind of danger, making the potential matchup even more intriguing.
What's going to do more for Islam's legacy if he fought Topuria next? And you might say, well, if he beats Topuria, that would add a lot to his legacy. Agreed. Absolutely agreed. No question about it. But one, Topuria is a real threat. Topuria is a real threat. And by no means a walk in the park. Neither was Volk, certainly. But, Topuria is a different kind of threat than Volk.
Michael Bisping also reacted to this situation by saying that Ilia has been promised a title fight. He mentioned a journalist on Twitter who claims to have reliable sources confirming this, and Bisping believes it's true. He stated that Ilia deserves the title shot because he dominated his opponents, became champion, defended his belt with a big knockout over Max Holloway, and then vacated the title to keep the division moving. Bisping called that a very honorable move and said it deserves respect.
La leyenda Ilia Topuria said that he's been guaranteed a title fight. This guy on Twitter, this journalist, says that he's got it on good authority that he's going to be fighting for the belt. And I believe that, okay? If anyone deserves a shot, it's Ilia Topuria. And he's done the right thing. He blew through the competition. He became the champion of the world. He defended it in stunning fashion when he knocked out Max Holloway. And then he vacated the belt so that the division can continue to move along, okay? If you can't respect that, I don't know what to tell you. That's a very, very honorable way to do it.
Michael Bisping acknowledges that Islam Makhachev is not keen on fighting another featherweight like Ilia Topuria or a short notice replacement like Renato Moicano. Islam wants to face a top lightweight contender who has proven themselves at 155. However, Bisping admitted that Islam versus Ilia is a huge fight that would attract a lot of attention, and it's a matchup that everyone wants to see.
Makhachev was against this matchup for a variety of reasons, as we've discussed. Didn't want to beat another 145. Didn't want to beat someone like Renato Moicano on short notice. Wanted to take on a top surging contender that's proven himself at 155 pounds. I get that, okay? But it's a massive fight. Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. That would do huge numbers, and we all want to see it.
Michael Bisping further said there are other options at lightweight. He mentioned that Charles Oliveira still wants to be champion and could fight for an interim title if Islam Makhachev moves up to welterweight to face the winner of Jack Della Maddalena versus Belal Muhammad. However, Bisping also noted that it might not be wise for Islam to wait because Jack might not win, and Islam has stated multiple times that he won't fight Belal. So for now, the situation remains unclear.
But of course, there is other possibilities at lightweight. There's Charles Du Bronx Oliveira. Now, as we know, Charles Oliveira wants to be a champion again as well, okay? So maybe he's going to fight Charles Oliveira for the interim strap because Islam wants to go up to 170 and fight the winner of Jack Della Maddalena versus Belal Muhammad, okay? However, that might be stupid to sit around on the sidelines. I shouldn't say stupid. It might be foolish. That'd be a better word. Might be foolish to do that, because Jack Della Maddalena is not guaranteed to win. And he ain't going to fight Belal Muhammad. That's been discussed and established multiple times. So we don't know who it's going to be.
Bantamweight champion Merab Dvalishvili shared his thoughts on the situation involving his friend Ilia Topuria. He believes that since Islam Makhachev vacated the 145-pound belt, Ilia should be the next contender for the 155-pound title. Merab pointed out that while Islam respects him, he seems to be avoiding Ilia, even though Topuria has earned the shot. He recalled Islam saying that respect is earned through real competition, but despite Ilia's strong standing, Islam isn't fighting him. Merab expressed frustration, emphasizing that Ilia deserves the title shot and yet continues to face criticism.
What about your friend Ilia? He has to fight for the belt next, right? If he vacated the 45 belt, he has to fight Islam, no?
Ilia has to fight Islam Makhachev, especially he vacated his belt. He's not anymore 145 and he's the best deserving contender for the 155 belt, but somehow Islam ignoring him. Everybody remember that Islam told me on a press conference,
Merab, I don't have nothing for you, that's respect, but when you have some real contender, just fight.
And I said, of course. But now he has the top contender as a Ilia Topuria, but he's not fighting.
I'm tired to give chance the small guys.
We all agree that Ilia deserves this fight more. Nobody criticized Islam like they was criticizing me.
Arnold Allen said Islam Makhachev might be hesitant to fight Ilia Topuria because he wants to face top-ranked lightweights to build his legacy, especially after already fighting featherweights and short-notice opponents. He admitted that while Ilia is a smaller fighter, there's no bigger challenge right now. Allen said beating Topuria in dominant fashion would be a huge statement for Islam. Even though he's doubted Ilia before and been proven wrong, Allen still predicted Islam would win by controlling the fight.
I understand why Islam wouldn't want it, right? He wants to fight legit contenders, and he's had like featherweights, ex-featherweights, late notice guys, replacements. He wants to sort of solidify his title reign, but probably is no bigger fight than Ilia, right? If he goes and batters Ilia, Looks pretty good.
Do you think he beats Ilia?
These guys. I don't know. To be honest, I ruled him out a few. Oh, we're gonna get run. Hello.
About to get ran over.
Good.
Sorry.
Ah.
My bad.
I don't know. Every time I've ruled him out, he proves me wrong. So I'm not going to do it again. Yeah, like I say, I think Islam wins and he gets ironed out. So
Aljamain Sterling believes Ilia Topuria could be a serious threat to Islam Makhachev, pointing to Alexander Volkanovski's performance in their first fight as evidence. Sterling has watched that fight multiple times and feels Volkanovski may have won, possibly 3-2 or even a draw. Though he admits some bias, Sterling thinks Volkanovski did enough to earn the win. Based on that, he believes a fighter like Topuria could also present a significant challenge to Islam.
But would Ilia pose a huge risk for Islam? Like, do you think he would be the toughest test for Islam at 155 right now?
Well, the first fight with Volk gave him a big surprise. Arguably even won the fight. I watched that fight probably 5 times and I go back and forth. I'm like, I just felt like Volk won, but I'm not a judge. I don't know if that's biased because I just was hoping for the underdog to win. But just based on what I was watching, I thought Volk did enough to get it 3-2 or maybe even a draw.
Alexander Volkanovski also shared his thoughts on the possible fight, saying that Islam Makhachev would be a tough test for Ilia Topuria. Still, he believes Topuria has the ability to land a big shot. Volkanovski praised Topuria's striking skills, especially his boxing, and said Ilia stays calm and patient while waiting for the right moment to strike. He added that even when things aren't going Topuria's way, he keeps looking for an opening. Volkanovski also said that Makhachev would likely fight carefully, knowing how dangerous Topuria's punches can be.
Look, it just comes to can Ilia catch him? You know, that's what is, and he definitely can. Ilia's very, especially with his approach, he really backs his strike and his boxing. He really knows that he will eventually find the chin, and he's stoic till that happens. You know what I mean? He is on task and he doesn't, you know what I mean? He'll go, even if things aren't working, he's still going to try and find it. So I think Islam's going to be a tough matchup for him because Islam can be quite defensive and safe. I think he's going to know he needs to play it safe with Ilia because he knows Ilia is going to have that puncher's chance.
However, in a different interview, Alexander Volkanovski called Ilia Topuria the biggest threat to Islam Makhachev. Having fought both men, the former featherweight champion believes Topuria has the power to knock out the lightweight champion.
If they do fight, who wins?
Look, the thing is with Ilia, he is a dangerous fighter and he can catch anyone. You know, if he goes there and he's stoic and he's, you know, even if the fight's not going his way, he will not eventually get it, but he's going to keep trying to find it. You know, them later rounds are going to get harder for him, but, you know, if he was to land, he could definitely knock him out.
Volkanovski understands that knocking out Islam Makhachev won't be easy for Ilia Topuria, but he believes it's still possible. He said Islam is a tough opponent, but Topuria has the strength and power to beat anyone in the octagon.
Do I think, you know, I think that's going to be hard to do. I think, you know, Islam's a pretty safe fighter. I think the scrambling stuff, even if Ilia's takedown defense is solid, I still think them exchanges are going to be better off for Islam, but you mean you can't count Ilia's power out. You know, them hands. You know, he's going to be, you know, looking for that shot. Them early rounds, he's going to be very dangerous. So you know, to say he's got no chance is silly because.
Volkanovski believes that while Islam Makhachev might be the favorite in this fight, the challenger always has a chance to surprise everyone. He thinks Topuria could catch the Dagestani fighter and has a good chance of taking his title.
And that's how I've always, for myself as well, that's how I've always seen myself only getting beaten by someone catching me. I don't feel like anyone can actually beat me, but everyone has a chance of catching you. And I still believe that's the case now. But I mean, you've got some that are, you know, better chances than others, and Ilia has the better chance than most.
Max Holloway believes it's tough to bet against Islam Makhachev, highlighting the challenge of dealing with Islam's well-rounded fighting style. He noted that Islam combines strong wrestling with solid striking, making him hard to beat. Now that Makhachev is gaining more confidence and becoming more comfortable with his striking, Holloway feels it's even harder to be consistent against someone like him.
Prediction, potentially if they did fight Ilia versus Makhachev, what would you think? Who would win?
I mean, bro, it's hard to go against Islam. You know, it's hard to go against him. His fighting style is a tough one. You know, he likes wrestling. He likes striking. Now he's falling in love with his striking. So, I mean, it's hard to bet against Islam.
Meanwhile, Islam Makhachev's coach, Javier Mendez, acknowledged that Ilia Topuria is pushing the boundaries by asking for a direct title shot against Makhachev. However, he also understands the financial benefits of this fight and why the UFC would want to make it happen.
Do you think that, let's say Ilia does get this shot against Islam, do you think it's deserved? Do you think he should have to fight someone else first? Do you think in a sense he's cutting the line here?
Well, you know, of course he's cutting the line, but hey, if the fans, if that's what they want to see, that's what the UFC wants to see, then it's basically, he is cutting the line, but it's not a true sport. In a true sport, you're cutting the line. In a sport like this, which is not a true sport, it's entertainment first. So if more eyeballs are going to pay attention to Topuria, then obviously that's what the UFC is going to want. So yeah, from a realistic, real true sport, yeah, he's cutting the line, but not from an entertainment, because if that was the case, how many times did Chael Sonnen skip the line?
Beneil Dariush said Ilia Topuria might be the most deserving new lightweight contender, but he doubts Islam Makhachev and his team would want to face another featherweight moving up. Since Islam has already fought 2 opponents from 145, Dariush thinks his camp sees that as finished business and would prefer new matchups at 155. He admitted Topuria is dangerous, but said the fact that he comes from featherweight makes the fight less interesting for Islam's side.
If Ilia is coming into the division, I honestly think he's the most deserving, but I don't think Makhachev and his team right now want to give a shot to another 45er. I think they feel like they did it twice. That's enough, you know. Now they want contenders, and at the same time, but Makhachev also wants to fight new guys. So it's kind of one of those things where you're stuck because you have a new opponent, but he's a former 45er, and you're like, I don't want to fight another 45er. So it's a weird spot to be in.
Aaron Pico also thinks the fight is exciting for the sport and that fans are looking forward to it. He pointed out that both fighters have different styles, and Ilia Topuria has done well with him, but Pico believes Islam Makhachev's skill and experience might be too much for Topuria.
I think it's good for the sport, to be honest with you. I mean, him and Islam, I mean, people really want to see that. Everybody has their own style, and it seems like his style is just doing what he did. Honestly, I believe Islam is just a little too much for him, but I'm also a fan, you know, so I would have loved to see that.
So with legends, champions, and analysts all weighing in, the debate over Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev is only heating up. From Topuria's devastating power to Islam's dominant reign, the stakes couldn't be higher. Whether this super fight gets booked or the UFC chooses a different path, one thing certain fans are watching closely, and the lightweight division has never been more exciting.